3 years ago, I came to a shocking realization. Minecraft soil system is a shambles. You take some dirt, put it next to some water, till it, throw a couple of seeds into it, and you have some healthy crops within a matter of days. Dirt isn't even fertile. You can't grow crops on dirt. The only actual soils in Minecraft are clay and sand, and they're worthless for agricultural purposes. Yeah, I know technically podzol is a soil, but no one plants crops on it. The solution? It was obvious. Add more soils to Minecraft. But there was an obstacle in my path. I had no idea how to add soils to Minecraft. To add new blocks to the game, you need to know the fundamentals of Java, the popular programming language. I was daunted by the prospect of learning Java, but I had no other choice. After several weeks of grueling work, I was finally done. Having achieved the rank of Java Amateur, I set my sights on the world of Minecraft. Over the next 2 years, I learned how to add custom items and blocks to the game. This was largely thanks to this man, whose comprehensive tutorials guided me as I struggled to understand the intricacies of the Forge modification loader. Having finished my education, I decided to take a break for a few months. It was extremely refreshing. Then, about 10 days ago, I remembered my quest for more soils. It was time to begin work. I began my research on soils by consulting Britannica, the largest encyclopedia in the English language. According to the website, there are 3 types of soils on Earth: sand, clay, and silt. Silt was the only one missing from Minecraft, so my first task was to change that. I headed to Piskel, a website perfect for people with no expertise in pixel art. There, using the dirt block as a reference, I created the texture of the silt block. Back in IntelliJ, my development environment of choice, I began writing code. After what seemed like hours, I had a basic silt block, but it lacked functionality, a hollow shell. It was at this point that I decided to consult the only intelligence higher than my own. Because of its small particle size, silt has poor drainage. So, if water enters a block of silt, it isn't going to leave, which resulted in the creation of a new soil variant, the wet silt block. Randomly, the silt block checks whether it's near water or if it's raining. If either is true, it becomes a wet silt block. Similarly, the wet silt block also performs checks every now and then. If it's not near water and it's not raining, it dries to form a regular silt block. As I was typing all of this code, I realized something. Silt is fertile. I had completely forgotten about agriculture. But you can't plant crops on plain old silt, as the poor drainage results in fewer air pockets. No contact with air means that plant roots in silt would be unable to take in oxygen, resulting in no aerobic respiration and a lack of energy. Basically, suffocation. So the silt needs to be prepared. How? Tilling. Using a hoe on a silt block changes it to a tilled silt block, creating air spaces in the process. As such, tilled silt blocks can support crops. While doing some more research, I discovered silt has a higher nutrient content than plain dirt. Therefore, crops should grow faster on tilled silt than they would on tilled dirt. More accurately, twice as fast. After I had finished designing these blocks, I vaguely remembered something I had seen on the Britannica website. One word: loam. Loam is a combo soil containing 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay. With good nutrient retention, excellent drainage, and a stable structure to resist erosion, loam is the most overpowered soil on the planet. The base variant has a crop growth speed 3 times that of tilled dirt, but the tilled variant has a crop growth speed 4 times that of tilled dirt. Why? Better air circulation. But there was something missing: the sediment mix block. You see, loam can be made naturally, but it can also be made artificially. If you combine 2 blocks of sand, 2 blocks of silt, and 1 block of clay, you get 5 blocks of sediment mix. After I finished adding the recipe to the game, I realized I was completely lost. I had no idea how to turn the sediment mix into loam. The natural method involves freeze-thaw cycles and vegetation, so I made it so that in order to turn a sediment mix block into a loam block, you'd have to place sediment mix under a grass block in a snowy biome. What? Well, that didn't last long, until suddenly I stumbled upon some critical information. Sediment mix is actually loam. If you combine the correct proportions of the three soils, the resulting mixture is loam, not sediment mix. Having seen the error of my ways, I removed the sediment mix block, changed the recipe, and the loam block was complete. Having completed the blocks, I now had only one task left: spawning silt and loam blocks naturally. How hard could it be, I thought. I was a fool. Altering Minecraft's world generation is one of the most complex topics in Forge, with only the strongest programmers daring to come near it. After struggling past a few tutorials, I did some research on where the soils are found naturally. Loam is found commonly in floodplains, the land adjacent to rivers where sediment particles are deposited, along with organic residue. Silt is also found in floodplains, but unlike loam, in oceans as well. Why? Because silt doesn't require organic matter and refers to a single particle. On the other hand, loam is made of clumps of soil particles glued together by organic matter. In the ocean, the constant movement of water prevents the formation of these clumps, hence, no loam. Moving forward, I soon ran into issues. Firstly, silt spawning in oceans and riverbeds should be wet, not dry. Secondly, the texture of the loam block in water glitches out. Thirdly, I had no idea how to do any of the spawning in the first place. Instead of writing my own, I copied over the gravel block spawning code, making small adjustments here and there. Then, I made it so that loam blocks can only spawn where grass blocks do, but they have to be touching water. Basically, they only spawn on river banks and not in the rivers. With the second issue solved, I had only the first issue left. Instead of silt spawns in oceans and rivers, it now only appears naturally in floodplains like loam. I then added a third spawning mechanism, which was for wet silt. So now the wet variant is found in oceans and rivers, and the dry variant only in floodplains. And then suddenly it hit me. I was done. There was nothing left for me to do. So on the morning of day 10, having uploaded the project to the archives, I closed IntelliJ one final time, and I was at peace.